So now, after showing you that the first ideal pitch of the Statue of Enlightening the World was first in Egypt and not established in America until years later, I also want to show you a coin found in the 3rd century AD around Rome, which has some uncanny similarities if you haven't connected the dots yet. But by showing you this, I hope that it will further secure your ideas, or I believe that you see that you're forming. Now, look at this. Now, just look at this. And yes, before anybody says anything, you can look this up yourself for facts. Just put in Sol Invictus coin found, and you will see this. But Roman Imperial, this depicting Sol Invictus in the 3rd century, and it's held at the Bessenius British Museum. Now, look at this. This is supposed to be a pagan sun god depicted with a lady in a dress, male or female, duality, what have you, with the headdress with the thorns, as you can see in the back. Now, if we put it together, what does this look like to you? Just take a second. Look at the coin. Just look at it. Now, if I had to be a betting man, I would say it looks like a depiction of the Statue of Liberty. I mean, look at the headdress. Just look at the similarities. It is uncanny. It's just too close. And you can't just be like, oh, come on, past, present, future. Really? Yeah, it's a little close, but no. People are so passive. We see it right in front of our faces, but we don't say anything. I mean, look, I showed you the coin. I showed you the written depictions of this sun deity in Rome. Like, come on, put it together. Look. But as I've said and showed you, there's just too many similarities when it comes to the Statue of Liberty and being portrayed as an old pagan sun god. I mean, we see the pictures, we see the coins, we've seen Helios in Greece, where a statue depicting pretty much the Statue of Liberty standing over the harbor coast and was destroyed due to an earthquake. I mean, there's just too much evidence to back all this up. And I know what you're asking me right now. So what? We're taking old paganism stuff and converting it into our modern day? Yeah, nothing new under the sun, ladies and gentlemen. Honestly, history repeats itself as it does and as it always done. You have to just look and see what's going on and the symbols that are associated with antiquity. And if you study history, all of this just unravels and unfolds right in front of your face. So now I want to also show you article that I found pertaining to this also, because like I said, the information is there. You just gotta find it and do your research, as it shows here. An article coming out of Egyptian streets. The Statue of Liberty was originally designed as an Egyptian woman. Due to its rich archaeological history, Egypt is well known as a home to various colossal statues depicting ancient rulers. Most travelers to Egypt easily recognize this when visiting the Colossus of Menon, seated proudly on the west bank of the Nile in luxury, or when standing small before the seated statues fronting the temple of Abu Simbel. So I'm going to go down here and highlighted. One such surprising project would be the towering Statue of Liberty, located on New York's Liberty Island. While it may be incredibly far-fetched at first, evidence points that the statue's design was not originally intended to grace the U.S. shores, but actually to find itself nestled in the city of Port, set in Egypt. As it goes to say here, the Statue of Liberty was designed by French artist and sculptor Frederic Auguste Bartholdi, who, after visiting Egypt in 1855 with a group of Orientalist painters, decided to create a colossal statue intended to rival Egypt's ancient ones, namely one of the most iconic statues of the Gaza Plateau, the Sphinx. So yeah, just showing you. I'll leave the article for you guys to read more, but as you guys can see, there's just overwhelming evidence that the Statue of Liberty was actually going to be depicted to another pagan deity. So now, after showing you all the evidence, and if you've taken the time to watch my book review for The Cult of Sol Invictus, you see that I pretty much laid the foundation to you all to get to the same conclusion that I'm about to present here, that the Statue of Liberty is just a representation of a sun deity that could be in the name of Sol Invictus, as I showed you, or Mithra, also from the Persians, depicting a sun deity. So what is all this? I even showed you about how the artist for the Statue of Liberty was a Mason also. And if you study Masons, you know that they deal with symbolism and teeter towards the occult. But most of it stems from deep, deep antiquity and comes from where they take aspects from the Phoenicians, the Greeks, the Egyptians, and all their rites and establish it to them. And if you know about Masons, you'll see that a lot of high profile people are Masons or associated with them. That goes even to your politicians, these corporate leaders. And I'm just like, what is all this? What is this? You know what I mean? Like, so we have a statue on the New York Harbor with all the evidence I show you is depicting a sun deity, which stems to paganism. But then with Constantine came in around the 3rd century BCE, current era, all that was supposed to be abolished and switched into Christianity. But now I'm seeing that pagan elements are still lingering till this day in the United States. And if you know some about our founding fathers, you'll see that George Washington himself, you'll even see that George Washington himself was also a Mason, founding father, as you see, in 1788. So what is all this with all these high profiling people that stem from the Masons? Now, this isn't me taking any shots to any fraternity or anything like that. Let me make sure I get that across. It's just interesting how all these high profile people are connected to the Masons in some way. But yeah, so, but back to the Statue of Liberty and its connection with the pagan deity, even Helios in Greek. It's just really interesting. And that's why I say, when you look through antiquity, you have to see the connections. To this day, I swear, there's nothing new under the sun. All these symbols that are just being perpetrated in our faces, all these logos that these companies have, where did all these stuff resonate from? Where did they come from? And that's what's always interested me, especially a guy called Jordan Peterson. If you know who that is, well, you should really take a look into him. He got me into looking at these symbols and where they all come from. And you'll be really interested when you see where they all come from. But anywho, if you've come to the same conclusion I have, you'll see that bits and pieces of paganism are still here to the core, even into the United States. So, and like I always say, please do your due diligence, do your own research. But I promise you, if you do unbiased research, I know you'll come to the same conclusion as me. The evidence is just too much there. There's too much evidence. I promise you, I can just keep laying out the evidence for you. You just have to look for it. That is the key thing. The information is always there. You just have to look for it. It's funny how they tell us one narrative, but then turns out to be something else. Yes, at the end, we did get gifted the Statue of Liberty from the French due to their appreciation for the war. But there's still some left out information that they never told us, that it was originally to be erected in Egypt, as I just shown you. It wasn't first supposed to be established in the Americans. No, their first plan was to put it in Egypt. They got turned down. And then the artist went to the United States and brought his ideas, and they accepted it. So how many more stories or narratives have little sprinkles of something else in it? But hey, that's for us to just keep doing our research. But again, I thank you all. I really hope this opened up people's minds. And again, please do your research. But the evidence is there. And once again, I thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. As I say, I always find this information, I just want to present it to you guys to get my ideas out, to see if anybody else has studied this or came across this also. This is an ongoing journey. And like I said, read. The older the book, the better. Yes, I understand these books can be expensive. Some of the books that I have, which I'll leave in the description, you'll see these books are fairly priced, but it's worth the knowledge. I promise you all. I promise you all. But again, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. This wraps up. This is a little sign up from the book review of the Cults of Soul Invictus. This is just a little bit added information that I found off on the side of it from reading the book and doing my own research. So I hope you guys like my presentation. More videos on the way, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys.